Welcome to Elevated Understanding. Chosen one, you win. You defeated everyone. One by one you foiled the traps set for you. You were left alone in the darkness, but you lit your light from within. They betrayed you. They tried to silence you. They tried to smear your name, but you stood firm despite them all. You learned a lesson from every fall. You gained strength from every blow. Those who thought you were weak are now silently watching you, because now they know you are not an ordinary person. You did not come to this world to bow down. God has put you through such a fire that no storm can destroy you now. They took everything from you, yet you did not give up, because you had a divine mission inside you, and you never forgot it. You kept silent. You were patient, you watched, but when the time came, you took the stage. Now the game is over, the masks have fallen, and you, everyone, their plan was to destroy you. Your plan was to be reborn. Now it's your turn. Time to show who you are. God is protecting you. The universe is watching you. And you, get ready. This world will not stop you. The next 12 points I'm about to reveal will show you how to defeat them. I suggest you listen to the end as a loyal warrior. Before you start, write "I won" in the comments and send a strong signal to the universe. Now we're going deep. Be quiet, because this is your story. First, you didn't care about anyone. Everyone talked, criticized. They whispered behind your back. They turned away when you passed by. There were those who tried to put you in your place just because you didn't live the way they wanted you to. Sometimes they wanted to silence you. Sometimes they belittled you. They left you alone. They did not support you. But what did you do? You didn't care, because you came not to seek their approval, but to walk your own path. They chose to get lost in the crowd, but you sought the light alone. Many did not understand you, because you walked where they did not dare. You listened to your own voice while they tried to be alike. And this may have made you lonely, but loneliness did not wear you down. It shaped you, because you got to know yourself when you were alone. You learned silence. You learned to grow in silence, to grow stronger, to gather storms in calm. You heard the people who talked back, but you didn't answer them, because your answer was not words. It was your steps. Every step you took, every moment you remained silent, every patience you showed was an answer. When they belittled you, you recognized yourself. When they saw you as incomplete, you realized the whole in you. And over time, your silence echoed more than their screams. It was shocking, because you managed to be heard even without shouting. They said, "You are not." You said, "I am." They told you, "You can't." You said, "I have done it, and I will do it more." But you said it from within, and everything that comes from within comes out in the most powerful way. Because God listens to the silent, and you have spoken to God in your silence. Now the time has come. Even without speaking, you have begun to make people tremble inside. Your presence now mirrors those who have spoken over you in the past. You have not changed. You have only returned to your true self. And that truth is now undeniably clear. Secondly, you never denied yourself. They told you what you should be. Act like this. Look like this. Don't do that. They gave you paths mapped out for you. They gave you advice adorned with their own fears. They expected you to shapeshift in order not to lose their love. But you realized something early. Acceptance through self-denial is actually a slow destruction. And you never gave up yourself to please anyone. Yes, it cost you dearly. Sometimes you were alone. Sometimes you were ostracized. But you never looked in the mirror in the morning and didn't recognize yourself. You didn't diminish yourself. You did not suppress your inner voice. You have seen how those who deny what comes from within themselves slowly become soulless. While they compromise their character to gain approval, You remained silent, but did not retreat. When they smiled, they cried their hearts out. You kept your truth even in pain. They found you too much, too intense, too hard, too different, they said. But you knew one thing clearly. Your soul didn't have to be narrow for anyone. You were not meant to be less than anyone else. You realized that everything that was too much in their eyes was actually a signature that God had given you in essence. And you did not erase this signature. You wore it proudly. You chose to be yourself, because playing someone else would have made you sick. And to remain real in this world, that was the biggest challenge. But you accepted that challenge. You stayed true. You didn't go along with the crowd. You didn't sell your soul. And that's exactly why your light shines brighter now. Because you did not deny yourself, so God did not ignore you. Thirdly, you have learned to forgive, but you have not forgotten. You remember what was done to you. You remember the words spoken, the knives in your back, the blatant injustices. You remember how the people you opened your heart to turned their backs on you when you were at your weakest. It's all in your mind. But you still didn't hold a grudge, because grudge was a poison that gnawed at the soul, and you were not going to let anyone prevail by drinking that poison. Forgiveness was not weakness for you. On the contrary, it made you the strongest. Because by forgiving, you got rid of your burdens. You made more space for yourself. You were wounded, but you considered your wound sacred, because every scar was a seal that made you who you are, and you carried each seal with honor. You did not forget, because to forget was to invite the same mistakes again. You grew up remembering. You didn't knock twice on the same door. You didn't get lost on the same road twice. You rebuilt your heart each time, but each time with stronger walls. That's why you were broken but not shattered. You were knocked down, but you didn't stay down. And every time you got up again, you became a little wiser, a little stronger. Fourth, you have learned patience. You learned to wait, to be silent, to hear the voice inside you, even when no one else understands you. In a world that wants everything to happen immediately, you took your time to mature. You took your time because you knew that fruit is sweetest when it ripens on time, and patience was your secret weapon. You didn't panic, even when everything came crashing down on you. Difficulties tried to suffocate you. The nights were long, the roads were dark, the hopes were fading. But you didn't back down, even for a moment, because deep down you knew this will pass. The difficulties will end one day, and you will come out stronger. Some people told you to be impatient. Give up, they said. You're wasting your time, they said. But you saw what they could not see. You realized that there is something inside you that is still growing. A life not yet visible, but slowly gaining strength. You waited. You waited by crying. You waited by being silent. You waited by praying, sometimes just breathing. But you waited. And finally the reward for your patience came. Maybe it came late. Maybe it came after everyone had left. But it came. Because God's calendar is not like a human calendar. He was always right on time. People thought you were passive, but you were fighting the deepest struggle within yourself. Because patience was not giving up. Patience was the noblest form of surrender. And because you knew this, you did not rush. You waited for your soul to mature, and now you are calmer, you are more resilient. Because you have been patient, so God has made you resilient. Fifth, you drew strength from those you lost. Those you once said were with you are now only in your memory. One by one, the shoulders you relied on have withdrawn, and some have gone as if they never existed. A part of your heart was missing with each departure, but you learned to be complete with those missing parts. Because losing someone was sometimes getting closer to yourself, and with each loss you turned a little more inward, a little deeper. At first you didn't understand. Why did it happen? Why now? Why me? You asked, but with time you understood. Loss was not a punishment but a calling. God wanted to take you somewhere, and he couldn't do that without making you leave some burdens on the road. So he made you lighter. Sometimes he took someone you loved. Sometimes he destroyed a dream you trusted so much in. But then he pulled you out of the rubble, more real, more solid, more alive. You were broken, yes, but light seeped through those fractures. When you walked through the pain, you carried not only wounds, but wisdom. And now, when you look back, you see that it was not what you had that made you grow the most, but what you lost. Because now you know this. Every loss was a teaching, and every abandonment was a guidance. Those who left you alone actually brought you closer to yourself. Those who didn't see you actually reminded you of your inner value. When doors closed in your face, you learned to open the door inside you. Sixth, you realized your own worth. There was a time when you wanted to have a place in everybody's eyes. You wanted approval. You wanted to be liked. You tried to prove yourself just to prove that you were good enough. But then one day, something happened. Your inner voice drowned out the applause from the outside, and you realized value was not in the labels others gave you, but in the value you gave yourself. That day, you stopped. You stopped running. You realized that the people you were trying to reach were not worthy of you because you were looking for the gold in their plastic eyes. And now you know, gold recognizes gold, and those who have no value in their eyes only look at the glitter. Loving yourself was not easy because for years you were made to feel incomplete. Be more beautiful, be quieter, feel less, talk less, they said. But when you looked in the mirror one day, you saw that all these less were trying to erase you. And that day, you said yes to your own existence, with your flaws, your brokenness, your excess, all of it. Because now you have made peace with yourself. You realized that you can walk without someone else's approval. You remembered that God is watching you, even when the crowds don't applaud you. And his gaze meant more to you than the appreciation of 1,000 people. You no longer try to be like anyone else, because you are not someone else's substitute. You are God's unique creation. You take care of yourself as you deserve, and that is exactly why you are more valuable now, because you know your own worth, and that's why God has made you special. Seventh, you have learned to say no. In the beginning, it was difficult. It was like a crime to say no. You said yes so that people wouldn't lose face. You broke yourself so that they wouldn't be offended. You preferred to remain silent just to avoid tension. But behind every yes, you left behind a soul that cried out inside, because the more you were accepted, the more alienated you became. Then one day you realized not every yes opens a door. Sometimes they turn into traps that take you away from yourself. And that day, you started to draw your own boundaries. You said no, quietly, without fear, without explanation, because now you knew you couldn't shatter your own soul for the sake of not breaking someone's heart. You said no because you were tired. You said no because you grew up. You moved away from self-consuming sacrifices, from friendships that abused you, from insincere people who only wanted to use you. You no longer abuse yourself for the sake of being a good person, because you understand true goodness starts with being true to yourself. Some people thought you were selfish. What happened to you? They said. But your answer was silent. I care about myself now. I listen to my own inner voice, because I won't stop loving myself for the sake of anyone loving me. And as you said no, your burdens became lighter. Masks fell. True friendships remained. Those who didn't respect you withdrew. Those who appreciated your heart remained. Because you drew the line, so God protected you. Eighth, you learned to be alone. Crowds used to reassure you. Silence scared you. You wanted someone with you just so you wouldn't feel alone. But over time you realized everyone who was with you was not really with you. Sometimes you can be all alone in the middle of a crowd. And then you realized true loneliness is not in silence, but in not being understood. That's when you turned inward. As you moved away from the noise of others, you began to hear the voice inside you. At first, this silence made you uneasy, but over time, you found a deep serenity in that silence, because someone who can be alone with himself learns to stand up without needing anyone. And you learned that you were alone, but you were not lacking. You didn't blame anyone. You didn't resent anyone. You just accepted it. Not everyone is brave enough to walk with you. Not every heart is as deep as yours. And you didn't hold anyone against their will. You opened the door for those who wanted to leave. Because you were not chained to anyone, and you weren't desperate enough to bend and twist to be loved. Loneliness no longer frightens you. On the contrary, it nourishes you. Because the longer you are alone, the more you know yourself. The more you see what you need, what pulls you down, what makes you shine. And with every lonely night, you feel that God comes a little closer to you. Because even when the crowd silenced you, He was always listening. You saw loneliness as a strength, not a weakness. And that is why you are stronger now, because you have learned to be alone. So God has never left you alone. 9th, you took a risk and chose your own path. Everyone offered you ready-made paths. They showed you safe, risk-free routes. Look, this is what everyone else is doing, they said. Be like us. At least you will have a guaranteed life, they whispered. But you couldn't silence the voice inside you, because your soul did not fit the mold. Your nature wanted to leave its own mark, so you chose to walk a different path. And that's when you became lonely, because the one who chooses his own path is separated from the crowd. And you did. They didn't understand, criticized, belittled. Sometimes they mocked, sometimes they ignored. But the faith in you was higher than their doubt, because you knew the true path is the untrodden one. It is not easy, but it is liberating. You struggled at the beginning of the path. You often stopped, wondering if you should turn back. But then, when you looked back, what you had come was less than what you had left. And you kept walking on that path, because you never wanted to be a cog in the system. You carried a soul, not an imitation. You wanted to live a unique, authentic, real journey, and you grew stronger with every step. You fell, got up, but even those falls brought you down to the depths, not to the ground. While people only looked at the summit, you grew the most in the pit, because you were following the path God had written in you, not the route someone else had drawn. Now you are looking. Yes, maybe you are still alone, but you are not lost in a false crowd. And because you have chosen your own path in this world, God has chosen His light for you. Because you accepted the price, God accepted your fate. 10th, you did not follow the system they gave you, memorization. They had set up a system of people who wanted the same things, who laughed at the same things, who were molded into the same mold. They said, live like this, think like this, be like this. What did you do? You did not listen, because you could not fit your soul into a template. You wanted to understand, not just live. You didn't just want to exist, you really wanted to feel. But the system wouldn't allow it. To them, anyone who questioned was dangerous. Whoever went deep, who broke the rules, who chose his own path, had to be silenced. They either tried to suppress you or ostracized you as too much. But you didn't bend. You refused to blend in with the crowd and get lost. Because inside you was a path that God had written for you. And it wasn't like a pre-drawn highway. It was hard, yes. Sometimes you were alone. Sometimes the whole order was against you. But still, you didn't back down. Because you knew, he who conforms to the system is far away from himself. The one who disturbs the system gets closer to the truth. You were not one of those who adapted to the system. You did not silence your soul. And that's why now, instead of burning from within, you shine from within, because you did not become a slave to the system, so God has set you free. 11th, you knew that silence is your greatest strength. They said that silence is weakness. Speak, express yourself, raise your voice. Everyone thought that your silence was holding you back, but you knew that silence was actually your most powerful weapon. There was so much meaning behind silence, like a mirror that reflected the truths people didn't want to hear. Silence was your most powerful weapon because speaking does not always mean telling the truth. Speaking often meant agreeing with what others said, conforming to their truths. But you realized the importance of not only defending the truth, but also feeling what was really true. And by keeping silent, you said a lot. In a world where everyone was trying to raise their voices, you challenged others by remaining silent. With your silence, you built your own power. Speaking may have been an act of courage, but silence was the deepest expression of strength. Silence revealed your inner calm, strength, and confidence. Many people saw your silence as weakness, but in that silence, you heard the greatest voice, your own voice. And God has equipped you with this strength because He knew that you could change the world, not just by raising your voice, but by keeping silent. And now, no one can tell you that silence is weakness, because every moment you found your voice, you also discovered the power of silence. Finally, you forgave and left it to karma, because your karma was strong. Everyone had hurt you, everyone had abandoned you, everyone had stolen your trust, wrapped their arms around your heart. But one day, you chose another way: forgiveness. It was easy to take revenge for evil, but you did something else. You left it to karma because you knew one thing: evil only creates greater darkness, and you didn't want to get lost in that darkness. So you decided to let it all go, trusting in God's justice. He is the one who will avenge everything. You chose to keep your path pure, to keep your heart pure, to walk in the light of God. You believed in the power of karma and left your life in the order of God's creation. There is a Bible verse that says, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay," says God, and you believed it. God was not waiting for you to do justice to all things. You had already begun to do what was right. He had equipped you with light, victory, and confidence against the darkness. You forgave every enemy, condoned every betrayal, and then your life let karma take its course. Now, forgiveness has made you strong. Your karma was strong because you trusted God. Your real strength was knowing that you win every battle by putting on the armor of God. And that is why God has never left you alone. He gave you justice, patience, and strength. You did not give in to evil. You never deviated from what you knew was right. Others tried to hinder you. They tried to lead you down different paths. But every time you trusted in the light within you, and every time you stood firm against the lies of the devil. "Follow me," he said. "There is an easier way." But you chose God's way, despite all the devil's traps, because your knowledge, your faith, was like a shield against all the evil in the world. "The way I have given you is the way of truth," God says, "and you have never strayed from it, because you knew that evil is temporary, but God's word is forever true. And so, nothing could break your faith. God's power was with you every step of the way. This is the path where victory, freedom, and God's eternal light await you at the end. And now God's great reward awaits you. Heaven has declared it. You have won. You have defeated everyone. Every difficulty, every trap, every obstacle tried to discourage you. But you persevered. You walked. And day after day they continued to speak ill of you. Do you know why? Because they are all crying. They expected to see you in their own way. They wanted to mold you according to their own ideas. But you were different. You stood for the truth. You chose God's way. In their anger at your success, they hate you. But while they judge you, God is rewarding you. Day by day, God's light is with you, and you will continue to walk in this world in the pure path of your heart and soul.